Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and this is our top 10 shows of 2018. This is the finale to our award season. We did 3 other episodes. We did top 10 single episodes of 2018. We did top 5 new shows of 2018, and we did our TV awards. We did our sort of best actor, best actress awards, that kind of thing. This is the culmination, naturally, top 10 best shows, where we have deliberated. I just hit my desk, and it was kind of sore. I'm not going to lie, it was painful. But we've deliberated together to form this top 10 based on shows that we both watched. So anything that only one of us did was not eligible to make this list. So we'll probably do a couple of honourable mentions at the end individually, just for things that we might have put on our lists individually had we done so. And that's pretty much it. We're going to get our top 10. Which obviously, I think this top 10 is a lot more indicative of the quality of the year. Because one of the things we talked about in our top 5 new shows was how there was less new shows that we felt worthy of praising.
But we did feel it was a good year overall.
Yeah.
Because there was some really some tight things we had to cut off here that we were like, I don't,
yeah,
that was really good, but it's just not quite making it onto the top 10.
And I mean, new shows shouldn't be taking up half of the best shows of the year anyway. Theoretically, new shows should only account for, whatever percentage of overall TV, right? I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you watch 10, if you watch 20 shows and 4 of them are new that year,
yeah,
I wouldn't expect all 4 of them to be on your top 10. Maybe one of them.
Yeah. No, so if anything, it's more of a normal ratio. We just had a couple of years where there was a lot of new shows that were worth talking about.
Yeah. We got spoiled for a couple of years.
And maybe 2019 will be back on form with that. But without further ado, we will get into the top 10 shows of 2018. So kicking off with number 10 is Legends of Tomorrow, or DC's Legends of Tomorrow, to be completely accurate.
And you should be. This is a top 10 after all.
I should be. Do you know what? Legends is such an annoying title because most of the time you just call it Legends. It's Legends of Tomorrow. It's DC's Legends of Tomorrow. It's just one of those. It's also really long to type out. If you're hashtagging it, you're like, can I just abbreviate it?
Yeah. You just do LOT, don't you?
Yeah, or just DC Legends. I've seen that a lot. Kicking
Okay.
around.
That's still too long for me.
Yeah, but LOT I'm sure could be a bunch of things.
I'll give you DC LOT.
Okay. See, that's complicated though. Who jumps to that?
I did, clearly.
Well, apparently, but not everyone thinks like you. Thankfully.
It's a problem with the world.
I don't know. Would be nuclear fallout territory if everyone thought like you.
I am flattered that you think if everyone thought like me, we would have the ability to actually have nuclear weapons still.
I wasn't necessarily thinking that everyone thought like you in history, out through the duration of history. If everyone thought like you since the dawn of time, we'd be lucky if we'd hit the industrial age by now.
Yeah, we would.
So, yeah, but Legends of Tomorrow is a fun show. It is definitely one of the more light-hearted shows you're going to see on this list. It is a live-action cartoon. It has been since season 2, and it arguably keeps just diving deeper into that and getting better. This past first half of season 4, we've had almost a slasher movies type episode. We have had time loop episodes.
All you need to know is a bloodthirsty psychotic unicorn.
We've had evil unicorns. We've had so many almost gimmick episodes, but kind of gimmick episodes is what this show does really well, because it did just decide to stop taking itself seriously and just have fun with what it does. And the other thing that's improved over the years as well is that they've slowly taken away the cast members that don't quite work, and they've put in new characters, new cast members, to the point we're at now in season 4, where it's kind of just a perfect ensemble that fits the show.
Yeah, it feels like it's still fluid to rotate in and out every season. We could get a new member, lose someone here or there. And it's at the point now where I'm kind of sad if we lose anyone because I actually like all of them.
Yeah, imagine going back to a pre-Gary Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, don't you dare suggest such a heinous crime.
Other way to think about it. It's too painful in my soul. It's too painful.
That would be a crime against humanity.
That man lost a nipple. We should be honouring him and keeping him in the show for as long as possible. Also, Bebo. I mean, we're talking about the first half of season 4, but the back half of season 3 was also this year, and we had giant kaiju Bebo in action.
Yeah, yeah, it was something special.
Let's just call it Voltron Bebo more than Kaiju Bebo, but you get the gist. He was big, and that was delightful. It was in a show that constantly does silly things. That was like a new height. It was like in a good way. In a good way, we got excited by that. So
there's a moment where you realize what's going on, and you get excited for the stupidity that is about to unfold on screen.
Yeah, I mean, easily in terms of this top 10, it's the one where the plot is the least important. But but that's okay.
Yeah, but every week that it's on, which is unfortunately not anywhere near enough weeks of the year, it is one of the things I enjoy most that week, without fail.
But maybe only having about 16 per year is part of the special charm. That it doesn't.
I could do with like 25 a year. Is what I'm saying.
It doesn't outstay its welcome. It comes in. It gives us the consistent fun. It's definitely the most consistent in the DC shows. Well, outside of Black Lightning, maybe actually. That Black Lightning is also very consistent. But like compared to Supergirl, Arrow, and Flash, which all have ups and downs. I mean, Arrow doesn't have that many ups, admittedly, but
it gets like one every 3 years.
Yes, but you know, because we enjoy Supergirl, we enjoy Flash when it is being good, but that's not consistent by any means.
It's less often than we'd like. Whereas Legends, I can't remember the last time we got. Okay, that was a bad episode.
Yes. So there you go. That takes us at number 9, which we landed on Dear White People as number 9, which has had its second season this year. It advanced all the plots from season 1. It was just as witty as season 1. It was just as emotional as season 1. It had some standout episodes. It dealt with some subjects that season 1 didn't. Because it's almost if season 1 was purely about race, season 2 was still about race, obviously, but it brought in all these other social elements that were affecting just specific characters in the show because of one thing or another. You know, maybe this character's gay, so we're going to explore that. Well, season 1 did that as well.
Yeah, and it had some more concept episodes.
Yeah.
That were a lot of fun.
They were very good, but it also tried to take its premise and sort of flip it on its head with the ending, and made it question its own characters, and then ultimately hit us with a final sort of the finale reveal at the end. Kind of was like, whoa, okay, the show's going to change now because of this.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell is this show?
It's just like,
in a good way.
Yeah, it took something that's been there the whole time and turned around and said, no. This is different to what you were thinking about the whole time.
No, this is a thing.
Yes. You know, you weren't as big on the episode that was just the two of them.
No,
Sam and Gabe.
For me, that episode kind of felt like I was watching a play. I was very aware that I was watching it, is what I mean by that. But the script was still excellent.
I didn't have a problem with that. I loved that episode. I think that episode and then the mystery episode with the noir episode where they're trying to find the dog or whatever was what the plot of that was. That was really good. Those were the two standouts for me this season, but they're really, really good.
Overall, though, still an excellently smart show. Very funny.
Yeah, very, very good. So, number 8 is we're going back to a comic book show. It tends to be the highest rated comic book show coming from us, and that is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which had its back half of season 5 this year. This is a show that we have loved since season 2. It has gotten stronger and stronger. I mean, I suppose you could argue that this is the one year it didn't get stronger because we thought season 4 was better, but it's not that season 5 was weak. It was just that season 4 was hitting this height.
The back 2/3 of season 4
are the best the show's ever been.
Yeah, that's the peak.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's a damn high peak
for now.
Yeah,
we have time. We got 2 more seasons.
We got 2 more seasons coming. I know. How weird is it to say we've got 2 more seasons?
Yeah, and they're shortened seasons as well, so that might even impact because we've always been very impressed with the pacing on this show and how the rate at which it goes through its plot. It doesn't draw things out like a lot of other network shows.
I would say especially after season 4, where it went. Do you know what? We are going to just split up into separate arcs and do shorter stories. And there's a larger narrative, of course, still, but it was very focused stories of 8 episodes or whatever they were each.
Yeah, in season 5 split it into 2. There was a 10-episode story than a 12-episode story, and arguably you could feel the fact that it was a bit longer. The second one maybe felt a bit long.
Yeah, so I'm really interested. I think it's 13 episodes this next season, right? So do they do a 7 and a 6, or do they just do one big 13? Because that's long enough that you can get away with doing the whole thing.
Yeah. I can see them doing 113 or maybe splitting it in two.
Yeah.
Either way is fine, but the finale was a big deal. That popped up in our top 10 episodes. I also want to give a shout out to the episode where what's his face? I forget his name.
Talbot.
Colonel Talbot. We had an episode where Colonel Talbot came back, and it was. I think that episode hit us in a lot of ways because it was surprisingly emotional about a character who's mostly just been a really good bit of comic relief.
He's been kind of antagonistic but likable.
Yeah, he was kind of the J. Jonah Jameson of the show, in a lot of ways.
Oh man, Pazda would make a great Jameson.
I think he would do all right. Yeah, hard to measure up against J.K. Simmons, but he would do.
Well, it is. But I think he would do a standout job.
Yeah. So that was really good. It played with some of its mythology a little bit. It had its 100th episode, of course, which was obviously a bit of a crowd pleaser. So a lot going on, and we had even a great new character this past season, and Jeff, who by the end of the season we were like, oh, please have him back next year, which he is. He's coming back, but. Yeah. The fact that we were actively saying that it did some wonderful things with some of its characters, some wonderfully dark things, things that will need redemption, and
some really interesting things they played with, and especially with the ending where there was things that we could see going. That was like, okay, there are things that we can play with here that most TV shows would kind of just leave hanging, but it addressed them. It was like, don't worry, we're aware. And that was exciting to know that, okay, no, we're definitely playing with those ideas.
Yeah, no. Shield's still on top. So that'll do us out at number 7, which was Westworld, which had its second season this year. Probably a slightly more inconsistent season than season 1.
Yeah, I think this placement here at 7 is probably lower than where season 1 would have been in its respective year.
Yeah, probably be quite a chunk, I imagine. It's still very, very good. There's still some great high points. We had an episode pop up in the top 10 episodes. There was kind of 2 in contention for that. I also loved what it did with the finale. I loved the overall themes and the mysteries of the season. Ultimately, why it's a bit lower than it was last time we had a season of this is because it did lull a bit in the middle. There was a couple of episodes in the middle where it felt like it was maybe spinning its wheels in a couple of plots.
Yeah, there was one of those episodes that I liked quite a lot more than you.
Yeah, but there was a couple of them, though. It wasn't just that
there
one.
was a couple, yeah. So I agree, overall, it's definitely weaker than season 1. Although I still think it's very good.
There was basically Dolores' plot. There was basically like 2 episodes of her side plot that you could have just cut, because ultimately it didn't really add anything to... Because her first couple episodes were great, and when the season started, the ultimate thing that her and her party were doing in the last few episodes were great. There was just this middle chunk where...
Yeah, it felt like because she was such a major part of the first season, that the showrunners felt like, no, we have to include her. We have to have her be the main part of the show to some extent, when wasn't necessarily needed this season for this story.
Yeah, honestly, after the first couple of episodes, she probably should have disappeared for 2 or 3 episodes before they so maybe just introduced the idea of what was going on next. That's not to say there wasn't good stuff in there with her and Teddy, because there was, but we didn't need as much as we got. But not to harp on its negatives too much, because it's on the best of show. That's because it's still very good.
It's interesting. We're being quite negative here that it's only at number 7, but that's still the 7th, best show we watched this year.
So now this show expanded its mythology. It left us with a big, huge post-credit scene that was like, whoa, what's going on? What's happening? It made us like second guess, triple guess ourselves. It had some emotional heights, which is where I think it maybe actually exceeded season 1 in some ways, is where the emotion
especially with 2 characters in particular.
So as with a lot of season 2, I feel like I say this about a lot of season 2s recently, because I think there was a time when I would have said season 2s are almost always better than season 1s because the show found their feet. But I feel like in the era of like prestige cable shows and streaming shows, we have this thing where instead of that, season 2s get inconsistent, but they have higher highs, but they also have lower lows in season 1.
Yeah, it's interesting. Network shows, almost always, season 2 is better than season 1.
Not always, but almost always.
Almost always, yeah. Whereas, like you say, in the premium cable era, not so much. They kind of tend to come out the gate swinging with a tighter story, maybe.
Mm.
And then it's like, oh, okay, we need more now. Let's go.
Yeah, it's interesting, but yeah. So that is number 7. Number 6 is The Handmaid's Tale. From Hulu, which also is notably a little bit lower than season 1 was.
Yeah.
Kind of a similar deal actually. Although the weird thing about Handmaid's Tale is that I don't think there's any single episode you can look at and go, that is in any way weaker than what season 1 was doing.
No, it's different to Westworld where we can pinpoint entire plots.
Yeah.
So moments of episodes where it's like, okay, that's where it's not working.
Handmaid's Tale season 2 is still fantastic. I mean, is it just a case of, okay, it's fantastic at doing almost the same thing, so therefore it's not as impressive second time around?
Maybe. I know I remember having a few little nitpicks more than I did in the first season. A few things with ideas that didn't quite land as much for me. Not enough to really diminish the quality overall, just a little bit.
Yeah, because everything we loved about it was still there. The performances were fantastic, especially from Moss. Yeah. It was devastatingly emotional. That every time you had a bit of hope, it took it away. Maybe there was one or two choices towards the end that maybe felt a little bit.
Yeah, do you know what's interesting is
rushed.
I think the season might have been like 2 episodes too long, but I wouldn't say, oh, cut this episode or this episode.
Yeah, because it's 13 episodes. We're so used to having 10 for a lot of shows now that 13 is starting to feel oddly a little bit long. But yeah, no, there was great stuff throughout. It's still a phenomenal season. There's some great standout episodes. It does things again, expanding the mythology, and like we see some more of like maybe the higher ups. We see a little bit more of how the system works. We finally saw the what did they call it? The outskirts, the wastelands.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the terminology.
Yeah, I can't remember what they call it in the show.
This was too early in the year to remember the exact terminology.
But we see that we introduce some new ideas, some different commanders, some different handmaids. We see how more of the world works, because one of the things we kept talking about in season 1 was like, oh, I wonder how this part of society functions in this world, because we've had such a narrow viewpoint of everything. Yeah. In this season, we got a little bit more in different places, and it was like, okay, I'm starting to understand this a little bit better. And it had a great character arc for Serena. It had a great character arc for June. It had all these things going.
I think Serena is probably the highlight of the season for me, in terms of the ups and downs in ways that I didn't think was possible.
Yeah, that character is proof these writers are very good at what they do, because they can take us to this breaking point of hatred and then kind of reel it back in and give us a bit of redemption. But then it makes us murky because it isn't just a clear redemption, because there's still bad things have happened, and you have to.
All the stuff with June is excellent, but it's kind of what I expect to be excellent, right? It's like, no, you have to nail this, otherwise you've got no show. Whereas the stuff with Serena, I could see being a lot less competent than it is, because this is above and beyond what I would expect from a character like this.
And there was at least one really nice surprise in the finale that I don't think any of us saw coming. And then there was another surprise that we kind of maybe guessed, or at least theorized about.
Yeah.
But all very satisfying. So it leaves the season in a very different place, or the show in a very different place for season 3. And I'm very curious to see how they handle that and what they do with it, because I think the only complaint that was maybe lingering in our minds a little bit was returning to the same thing a little too often.
Yeah, because there was definitely once or twice in this season where it felt like it was going to.
Yeah, and then the ending kind of like, because I've seen some people complain that the ending's kind of going back to the status quo, and I don't agree with that at all, because we can go back to the status quo. What's happened has been too extreme now for us to, for it just to revert to.
I would really hope so. Otherwise, I think I would like this a lot less if we go into season 3 and
somehow the shoehorn it back in to fit in the same box, even though.
Yeah.
No, it clearly sets up a different season 3 where June's going to be like a very different position. And as long as it delivers on that, I have no complaints, and I'm curious to see how they handle this new situation they're in. But it had to develop beyond the initial premise at some point. It just had to.
Yeah, it had to if it wants to have any sort of longevity.
And also, the character makes a very important choice that relates to this. It's more of a proactive choice. It's less about trying to survive and more about I'm making a choice to do something. It's it's not reactionary. It's proactive, and that's good. So that's number 6. Number 5 is Homecoming. which is Sam Esmail's directed show from Amazon. It's based on a podcast. It was 10 half-hour episodes.
Yeah, and not to spoil our best new shows too much. I mean, it's been up for days. You could have watched it already. This is on you. This is the only new show we've got on this list.
Well, it's inevitable that we kind of have to spoil what was the best new show if any of them appear on this.
Exactly.
If none of them appeared, it wouldn't spoil anything. But if any of them do appear, there's going to be one that's higher up, and therefore,
and you know, seeing as this is the where that was on this, and it's the only one here now. Yeah, it's maybe a little disappointing that it was the only one to crack into the top 10, but it did so in a very good position.
Yeah, Homecoming is a very experimental little show. It's this little thriller that feels very Brian De Palma. It's got great suspense. It's got great characters, and it's very playful with how it handles the style. There's different aspect ratios. There's some one-ers that Sam Esmail loves to do, and some weird framing that he likes to do.
Yeah, it definitely trusts its audience to just get things. It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't like hold your hand throughout it. It's like no. When moments happen, to do with even like technical details, it's like no. You know what we're doing here.
And I'll say that the surprising thing about the show, even after starting to watch it, was by the end of it, like just how much heart there was in it. Like it was a lot more about the characters. It felt
very clinical for the first few episodes, intentionally so. Yeah. But I didn't expect, because it was only 10 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't expect, after the first 2 or 3, it was still relatively clinical. I didn't expect to be anywhere near the heart that it had at the end.
Yeah, so no, Homecoming's on Amazon Prime. It is well worth checking out, especially if you like the direction of Mr. Robot.
Probably Amazon Prime's best show yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Number 4 is The Deuce. Season 2 was this year. This is HBO's show. If anything, this might be a little bit higher than it was when season 1 aired. So this breaks the trend of season 2 has been a bit lower.
And it's not necessarily that this season's so much better than season 1. It's just so consistent that it just naturally is above season 1 because it has the history on it.
Yeah, because you naturally have this thing in TV shows that are serialized where, because the character stories keep going, as long as they don't falter, as long as they're still good, as long as they're developing them based on what's come before, ultimately you have more connection the further you go. And season 2 kind of capitalizes on that. All the major characters have great arcs. And it's, because we left season 1 off with some of the characters feeling like, oh, you could almost end their stories here. Season 2 feels kind of the same way for a few characters. We have one more season. We have a final season to come next year. And I'm excited about it. The direction's solid. We talked about that in one of the other videos about how confident the direction is, how it uses these little techniques here or there, but it's also very understated. It doesn't get super showy with it either.
No, it's a very confident direction. It always knows exactly what it's doing, but it never goes over the top and it becomes distracting. The direction is never the focus. It's always just watch these actors.
And for an hour-long show about the seedy, sex underworld of the 70s, it's it has its levity, it has its humor that really makes us laugh. One of our favorite characters this year, and a character who was elevated clearly above season 1, was Larry Brown.
Absolutely.
He became fascinating and also very funny this season. And that was really enjoyable to watch. Candy's story was fantastic. Vincent had a if season 1 was, you put it as he started his midlife crisis in season 1, season 2 was him coming out of the midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And I could certainly see that in this show.
Which actually leaves me really interested to, okay, so what's season 3 for him?
Yeah, no, it's just interesting because there's a few characters. Laurie, the ending of her story and her sort of time with oh god, what's his face? Her pimp.
Her pimp, yeah.
Cece. Yes, got it.
We watched too many shows.
Yeah, there's too many shows, and this show especially has like 50 characters, so I'm not going to feel bad for that.
Yeah, we did a roll call at the start of the season.
Yeah, so her story ends in a place where it's like, oh, this could almost be her exit, and we might not see her again. I think we will, but like it almost could be.
There's no guarantee. Yeah.
So no, there's a lot of things going on like that. So it tackles a lot of themes, of course, that are very tough in places. Handles them with a good amount of tact, and it has something to say.
Do you know what I think is interesting about this show as well is a lot of the shows that have appeared on this list so far, and you know, some of the ones that will appear, appeared on our best episodes list. This didn't, because even though it's such a good show, clearly it's number 4, but every episode is so consistent that I could not even think about trying to tell you which episode is better than another one.
It's hard to separate them in my head. If I was pushed, I would maybe argue the one that ends with some footage of the real movie they're shooting. The
Okay, yeah.
Just because that moment of like seeing that scene and then Candy's reaction to that initial edit and like feeling like, no, we nailed something here. Like, it wasn't just a pipe dream. We actually accomplished something.
I agree with that, but
yeah.
I don't know if that necessarily is a better episode than any of the others. Even though
I'm saying if you push me, I'm not saying it's an easy choice. I'm just saying if you push me, that might be the one I mentioned. Either that or the finale, maybe. But like, you know,
that's an easy choice, isn't it?
But it's hard. It's hard because it is such a consistent show where it doesn't have. You know, like, the episodes kind of meld together more so than other shows do in your mind. I feel like it feels like a 9-hour movie as opposed to.
And the way it balances, you know, so many characters, so many different plot threads every episode. It never feels overstuffed.
Yeah.
It's just very impressive.
Yeah, so that is number 4, which takes out at number 3, which is Travelers, which is definitely higher than it's been before, and arguably, I don't even know if it appeared in the list the last couple of years, because it always hit right as we were doing our awards, so we never get a chance to finish it before we did our awards.
Yeah, this is probably season 2 as well. It would have been.
Technically, yeah, but we're just going to talk about season 3 here, I think.
Yeah.
Season 3 of Travelers is the best season of the show. It expands its mythology. It's a show that has constantly expanded what it's about and constantly played with its ideas. It's set up its rules at the start, and every season it'll have like several episodes where it says, yeah, but what if this happened because of what goes on? And I think what's impressive is that some of them are because they're a natural evolution of things that have happened because of a result of things that have went on, like, you know, villains that were created and now happen, and things that have changed because of what they've changed for the future. If you don't know Travelers, it's about a group of characters who come from the future into bodies of people in present day who are going to die, and then use those bodies to try and, like, you know, do missions that will help save the future because the future's went very bad. That's the basic premise. But I think what I appreciate about this show is that there was episodes even in season 3 where there were still just like there were standalone episodes almost that could have happened in season 1 just based on the idea. I'm thinking towards the end of the season there was a character who went into a body where they didn't know what that body had been up to because it wasn't like public knowledge.
Yeah.
Because they only have like public records and things to go on in the future. And that was like such a fascinating idea. I'm not spoiling it. I'm being very careful with my wording here.
No, I agree, but it's the sort of concept that would have been a very safe concept for season 1 of like, hey, what if this happened?
But they're still throwing these ideas out where I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting idea to do with this. Season 2, of course, had the 17 minutes episode that was like trying over and over to save someone.
Yeah, I don't know if that got into our best episodes last year. I don't know if we'd watched it in time.
It should have done. If it didn't,
it should have done. Yeah.
Yes, but season 3, like, it had all this. It had the escalation of what's came before. It had new ideas. It shook the formula up again, right from the start of the season.
Yeah, and then it was fascinating by the end where it left us in a place that could be the end of the show, but also could be a whole, like, just, okay, this was Act 1.
Yeah, status quo number 2 kicks in season 4.
Yeah.
It could very much be that. And then you add on to this, you had the emotional heights this season, I think. I think the last couple of episodes were the most emotional, devastating, touching, soul-affecting.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what we just said in The Deuce about how TV by its nature is cumulative, so these things get better over time. This only works because of the first 2 seasons.
Yeah. This is not a season you can watch on its own. This works because, and obviously, if things just get bad, they get bad. But assuming the quality is at least consistent, or ideally improving,
yeah,
the characters and your connection to them and their stories and what you build with them over the years, is what lends itself to big emotional moments when you get a few seasons in, and that's kind of what we see in Travelers this year. So we sing the praises of this show every year because it's not a show that we feel like a lot of people watch.
It was such a surprise out of nowhere, and then we've been champions since the start. And you know, still now, if you haven't, go back to season 1. Just get started.
Yeah, it's a Netflix show. You can go watch it on Netflix. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. Number 2. Better Call Saul, which had its
That's-
4th season this year. AMC. I'm going to have to actually do a rundown of what networks got how many in the top 10 because it's actually quite nicely spread. So
It is actually, yeah.
Better Call Saul has been a show that we've obviously loved, and it's been fairly high on the list every year that we've done these, with good reason. And season 4 is an important season in the show. Arguably, it's more of a slow burn this season compared to season 3. Season 3 was kind of like the middle culmination of the show.
Yeah.
This is a bit more of a slow burn, but it all has a point.
Everything in this season is very reactive to the end of season 3. It all kind of spirals out of those events and kind of just goes from there.
And it's just it's what it does so well. It's solid character drama. It has these incredible arcs, these incredible slow moving kind of realizations from characters that play out in a way where you can see what's in their head as it's happening, and it leads to this both wonderful and devastating finale that feels like an important part of the show. It feels like this is a pinnacle moment where when you look back, whether this is 5 seasons, 6 seasons, 7 seasons by the time it ends, that was the moment where it changed into its final form.
Yeah, definitely. This is the end of Act 2.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was handled perfectly. We talked about it a lot in the best episodes list, so
and we also talked about it a lot in the awards because those damn pesky actors kept showing up.
Yeah, so there's almost, I don't want to necessarily talk about that finale too much because we talked about it a lot in the other videos, but the season as a whole, obviously Mike had a plot. It introduced a new villain towards the end of the season, clearly setting him up for season 5. Very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting presence, very different to a lot of the other villains on the show. Just playing with a lot of things and characters kind of being at the lowest points, like you say, end of Act 2, and kind of every character is at a place where it's like,
Yeah, and then the same old impeccable direction, and especially the editing. I think it gets a shout out on this show more than any other because it's so slick in the way it's edited.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, not much left to add. I mean, we've talked about this a lot in the last couple of awards videos. So, but that is Better Call Saul at number 2, which leads us to number 1. Number one show of 2018.
The most coveted spot of all awards shows ever.
Yes, suck it, Emmys. Is The Expanse.
Yeah.
And Joey feels so good about giving this number 1 to me.
Is that it's not the end of the show.
It's not the end of the show, that's true. That also feels great. But what feels good about giving this number 1 to me is this is a show that has risen in where it ranks each season. Now, we never actually put season 1 on a list because we caught up in that just before season 2, so that was never eligible.
One of the only shows that we made an effort to catch up on and went, no, we're doing that.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
Because it was that or The Magicians, and I'm sorry, one dude who always asks for The Magicians, but...
We made the right choice.
We made the right choice. And I had a feeling, and I said, no, we were catching up on Expanse, and... You know, I immediately kind of fell in love with it. I liked the feel of the show. I liked how it looked. I liked how the space travel felt. I liked how the space stations looked.
It's evolved so much from the mystery show that the first season was.
Yeah, season 1's a lot slower than the others. And I like season 1 a lot. I was really into season 1. I remember season 1. I think once you've watched 4 episodes, you get a good flavour of what the show can be.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe not as much as the grand scale of the show, because I think it's really season 2 where the grand scale really comes in.
Yeah, where it opens up into the other cultures a lot more.
Yeah, but in terms of just like, you know, this is because I don't think you get your first real taste of space combat until episode 4, season 1. But this has improved with each season, and season 3 was so consistent, had some incredible high points. Obviously, it had the drama outside the show of, you know, oh, it's cancelled. Oh no, Amazon saved it. Yay!
Yeah.
But
praise be to Amazon.
Praise be Amazon. It just, like, it's dealing with huge sci-fi concepts. It's dealing with concepts that are interesting. It's almost a prequel to so many different sci-fi shows. Any sci-fi show that's ever just been a space opera, this is almost a prequel to it in a lot of ways. And it's handling it with such... I mean, realism is a good word for this because we know from people in the comments, we know from the general reputation that it has, that it pays so much attention to how space travel would actually function, that it's one of the most authentic in TV.
It goes above and beyond even with events in this season.
Yeah, it goes above and beyond with how it handles just things like, you know, how gravity works, how momentum works, how, you know, everything, and to the point where we occasionally say really stupid things in our comments, so like no, this is accurate, this makes sense, this is because of that. And obviously some stuff I'm sure is maybe veering towards the theory because no one's done it yet, and some stuff is just not, or at least most of it is set in stone. No, it's just, this is accurate because
this is how physics works.
This is how physics works. So no, it's fascinating that it's even if you're not a brainy person, and we're not.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I think we're brainy when it comes to talking about characters and themes and things like that. I don't think we're science brainy, which is a useful brain to have.
It is.
But we don't have that.
But the show never makes you feel like you're missing out.
It doesn't. No, it's there. You feel like you're in good hands when you don't necessarily get all that stuff immediately. But at the same time, it's not afraid to break a little rule here or there when it needs to. I remember at the start of the season, I saw people giving the creators shit on Twitter because there was technically some noise in space at one point. Very minor. It was very minor, but there was a little bit of noise. And my response to that was, well, does it annoy you in something when it's set on Earth, which is, you know, 99.999% of things that are made? Does it annoy you when they choose to take all the sound away when there should be sound?
Oh, yeah, it's just creative liberty, right?
Yeah, because this was very minor. It was a scene where two characters pressed their heads together to talk through their helmets outside.
Which I would argue could transmit sound.
I think it was that, or it was the footsteps before. Like they felt that there was footstep noises, and it's just like it's feeling. It's just that, you know, you feel the clumping of the feet. You know?
Yeah, it's just accentuated for TV because we need to understand that as well.
Yeah, I would argue that the sound you get when they're clumping their feet is just to display the feeling they have as they're putting their foot down, even if it's not a sound they're hearing.
Yeah.
You know, there's a purpose behind it. It's not like Star Wars where there's laser beams and explosions going off.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's better than Star Wars. You heard it here first.
I didn't say that.
It's better than Star Wars. I'm calling it.
We will see. You will change your opinion when you watch Clone Wars.
Not happening. It's not happening. But The Expanse is full of great characters, and it's full of big ideas. And this season has this benefit as well of, like, it finishes the second book and then does all the third book in the second half of the season. So you get a lot of meat and potatoes in this season in terms of ideas.
You get 2 finales.
Yeah, and it feels that way. Episode 7 feels like a finale. And it's big, it's action packed. The effects look typically fantastic. It looks like a really slick TV show. It's got a good sense of the style and design. It doesn't feel like it's just, oh, here's just what standard sci-fi looks like. No, it feels like there's thoughts went into this and how it feels.
Oh, absolutely. It's got excellent set design and direction.
Yeah, and then as good as that first half was, the second half of the season almost improved upon everything, because it was like, here's all these new ideas, here's these new characters, here's how we're using the thing that comes out of Venus, here's how we're using that for the rest of the season. And then the actual finale opens up the show. It literally blows the doors open and says, this is the end of Act 1, we're just getting started.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously we mentioned with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. earlier how that really took the approach of modular storytelling, right? And went, no, we're not afraid to split these up into arcs. This took it to a completely different level where I feel like I got 2 seasons.
It does feel that way, yeah.
Because that second half could have just been a season on its own.
Do you know what I like about that as well? It shows that the writer's room has the understanding of the material to say, this third book, it's not a bad book, it's obviously a very good book, at least, you know, given based on what I've seen of the show. It's a very good story. But it is not as deserving of like 13 episodes. It's deserving of about 7. That's how much story is there.
Yeah, part of that, from what I'm aware of, is, you know, characters that may have had story in the third book originally actually got moved forward in the show to where we were looking at that from the start just to give it more balance.
Yeah, because I believe Avasarala wasn't in the first book, but we had her from episode 1. We've had her the whole time.
Because they went, you know what, this structurally for TV this works better.
Yeah. Not that she was necessarily the character who had a lot of time in book 3. I'm just using her as an example because I know she wasn't around in book 1.
Right. So there was probably things in book 3 that maybe we already covered, but. Yeah. You know, the main core story of book 3. It's like, well, okay, we've got a really tight 7 episodes out of this.
Yeah, the episode-to-episode pacing in this show is fantastic. It knows exactly how long its story is, and it never feels like it's rushing or slowing down to accommodate for anything.
Mm.
And that's very good. I'll be really curious to see what season 4 is. I mean, I think the safest assumption maybe is that season 4 is just going to be book 4. It's just, start to finish, but it may not be.
Yeah, we have not read the book, so we are not familiar with, okay, what realistically is enough for a season.
Which we're intentionally not doing now because we're so far into the show and want to, engage in the show in its own merits.
We're saying how, book 3 was just the back half of this season. Book 1 was actually, all of season 1 plus the first half of season 2.
Which tells you they added a lot of stuff into that first season from later books, probably.
Right.
But they made that call because they probably thought, oh, this is too focused. I assume too focused on Holden and his crew, or too focused on just him and the investigation.
Yeah, I think they didn't want it to, when they came to add in these other characters later, for us to be like, well, we don't care about these characters, right?
Yeah, I think it was important for Avasarala and the politics side, because I think if you didn't have any politics in season 1 and then shoved them in season 2, it would have felt like a whole, whoa, this is a whole extra thing that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
I think having us be used to that in season 1 really helps.
Yeah, but then by the time you get to season 2 and you add in the Martians, it's like, okay, we've got context for this now.
Yeah. And I love the exploration of that. It developed characters. I love Bobby that is more prevalent now in the show. Juliet from Lost, her coming out of the show, her character was great. Just a lot of great additions. Some great, again, sci-fi ideas, some great action sequences, but ultimately the big finale of the final episode isn't an action sequence. It's about ideals. It's about making the right choice. It's about
it's about proper sci-fi.
It's about proper sci-fi. Yes, it's not just let's shoot lasers at each other until something blows up.
Yeah, which can also be very fun.
That wasn't a dig at Star Wars. You took that as a dig at Star Wars.
I did, because you intentionally made a earlier on when you talk about Star Wars, you were talking about shooting lasers and shit. So this here felt like a callback.
No. I was just speaking in general. If the audience want to take another point I made and connect the two of them together, that is on them. That is on them.
Yeah, of course. You definitely didn't use that language intentionally.
How dare you? How dare you? I'm no wordsmith, but Smurth. Clearly not. That was the best mistake I could have made. That was phenomenal.
You just kind of gave yourself the perfect alibi.
I'm no wordsmith. I'm no Joss Whedon.
No, you're not.
Who did the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for anyone who's
which notably in this top 10 list, so irrelevant.
Not eligible. No. Here's the thing, though. There's a new Slayer show coming that could be eligible in a year or two.
Yeah, but is it going to be shit?
I mean, it could be, but
could be.
The possibilities right now are endless.
Yeah, we know basically nothing about that, so I guess still be excited.
Yeah, it's probably a 2020 show. I mean, it's not impossible they could have it done out by the end of this year.
We could see it September through December time.
Yeah, but it is probably 2020. I'm not going to. I'm assuming it's not this year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was number 1. That's The Expanse. The Expanse is fantastic. And I like that this may have been a little surprise because Saul got the best episode, which we stand by, because I think Saul's final episode was the standout episode of the year. I think as a season though, I was more engaged in The Expanse than I'd ever been, and I love season 1 and 2. It took things further, and obviously, probably my TV moment of the year is the savior of Expanse. I don't think I felt happier this year on TV than being linked that little video of Bezos saying it was saved and seeing the cast cheer.
Yeah, that was something, wasn't it? Because I woke up to I looked on my Amazon tablet and saw the notification. I was like, oh yes, this is a great way to start a day.
It's just it was a feel good moment of the year, and I think it adds something, because I even in past examples where shows have been saved, I don't think we've ever seen the cast react to it live. That's very unique. That we got to see their actual live reaction to oh shit, we've been saved, our jobs are safe. Quick, jump up on the table and do a striptease or something.
Yeah.
I could I could see Alex doing it. Alex has got that sexy dad bod thing going.
He does, yeah.
And then Amos will just... Amos would do it as well. He'd be a very intense stripper, though.
He'd be like, well, what the hell? Everyone else is doing it.
He's got a past. We've heard about him in his high heels. We heard that this season.
Yeah.
And if you've not seen the show, and we've kept this pretty spoiler free, obviously with good intent because we want you to go try it. That's just a tease for like this show can be weird. go watch Expanse and find out.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah, there you go. There's a top 10 shows of 2018. Pretty solid list, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I'm very happy with all of these shows.
Yes. So what will be on our 2019 list? Who can say? Hopefully some new shows. Just. I mean, we're not doing a proper like here's a list of things coming this year, but just off the top of my head, coming this year in terms of new things that could be interesting. We have a reference show on Amazon. We have Watchmen by Lindelof. We have
we maybe have a
Witcher.
Lord of the Rings show sneaking in at the end. Who knows?
The Witcher's scheduled for this year.
It is, yeah.
So we got that. I think that's out of the three, that's the one that I'm expecting more of a rough time with, though.
Potentially, yeah.
It's just that image of Cavill in the wig was not filling me with hope.
It wasn't, but I mean, I've seen many a bad press release photo.
That's true. No, that's true. It's the only thing we've got to go on is that one image. So
Yeah, so we have to judge it on that. But I've seen many a time those images kind of be, yeah, whatever. They're very unrepresentative of the final show.
Yeah, we got Batwoman, of course, coming. More shows. Speaking of DC shows, we got a bunch of stuff coming from the DC universe. We got Swamp Thing, we got Doom Patrol, we got Stargirl, bunch of stuff.
We does Young Justice count?
Not as new, but I mean it's exciting.
I mean, it's kind of new.
It's season 3 of a show.
It's Young Justice Outsiders.
It's season 3 of a show. Shut up.
Fine.
Still season 3. Yeah. So stuff coming. Obviously, like True Detective's coming back. I'm not that hyped about it. We'll see. We'll try it. I mean, we'll see how it is.
We should be getting the Disney. Is it Disney Plus? Is that what it's called now? Disney Play.
Yeah, Disney Plus. I think is what it's called now.
Plus. That should be launching late this year, and we should be getting at least a Marvel show and a Star Wars show, I think is what they talked about originally having at launch.
Yes, Star Wars TV show, great. I'm looking forward to that content.
Oh, I am looking forward to it. Bring on the Mandalorian.
That'll be a delightful review.
This is what we need to do, Clone Wars, background research.
No.
No.
And then on top of that, of course, maybe sometime this year we'll actually finally get to properly reviewing Siren. So there's a lot of things coming up to be looking forward to. Plus we got new seasons of Saul, final season of Mr. Robot's a big deal. It's all happening.
Yeah, we got a season of Shield over the summer, which is going to be interesting.
It's true. So a lot of big stuff. Obviously, there's a bunch of Netflix shows coming as well that we've not even mentioned. Umbrella Academy's coming soon. That's a February show, I believe.
That sounds about right.
And then obviously there's other things we're expecting throughout the year, new seasons of things. Maybe finally a season 2 of the OA. That could be something.
Maybe. I'm really interested in terms of new shows. I'm really interested. I think it's called Kingdom. The new show from Netflix coming at the end of this month.
Yeah, the Korean show.
Korean show. I have high hopes.
Oh yeah, Dark season 2 should be coming this year.
Hell yeah.
Season 3 of Stranger Things. A lot of stuff to look forward to. I'm sure there's a bunch of new shows that we can't even predict yet.
Yeah, we just not aware that they're coming. There's stuff that's been in development for 2 years probably that might show up this year at last.
That might, yeah. So, but that is our top 10 of the year. As far as individual things that obviously we couldn't mention because we were sticking to things that we'd both watched. Obviously, I'd mentioned A Haunting in Hill House. I'd mentioned Sharp Objects as being pretty good. In terms of comedies, because we don't really cover comedies because it's kind of hard to. Love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Good Place is pretty solid.
Yeah. For me, I just again mentioned Star Wars Rebels. It finished off and it was fantastic. The best the show had ever been.
But we're out of time, so we can wrap up this episode. You can let us know what your top 10s of the year were and how you feel about TV in 2018 as a whole. Like and subscribe, of course, that supports us a lot. It helps with YouTube's algorithms and stuff. Or, if you're on the podcast apps and listen to the audio feed, rate us on whatever your podcast app is. You can support us more than that, of course, by going over to patreon.com/MailedFuzzTV, and you can sign up and you can support us for $1 per month or more if you so wish. And that helps us out a lot too. Otherwise, they'll get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz, and that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys, and hopefully 2019 shapes up to be pretty good. So, have you got any vanilla?